Welcome to our first podcast, PR by Whitney. Our first guest is Andrew Wood of Quest Electrical and ESP Play. And how are you? Do you feel privileged to be on the first one?
I do, yeah. Feel very privileged. Thank you for having me.
So I have quite a lot of questions to ask you today in regards to business. Well, two businesses with yourself.
Not too many, I hope.
I've got loads. So you've got Quest Electrical and ESP Play.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit about ESP Play?
ESP, yeah. ESP was the first business I was involved in. I started it 20 years this year, in 2023. So it was June 2003 when we first started. It's a playground equipment company that manufactures and installs all over the UK, and we ship a lot of our products abroad as well. But in 20 years it started from a team of 3 or 4 to now a big, I don't even remember, I don't even know how many people we employ.
There's a lot in there.
But yeah, it's a good business to be involved in, a good market, because there's a lot of good things for kids' health, kids' mental health, gets kids, very active, having fun. And it's played a big role in a lot of schools and community play areas. Play at the moment, so yeah, it's a good business to be involved in.
So is it just schools that you do?
No, we've got, for the whole time we've been a business, the first 17 was only schools. We decided we wanted to be only schools because we wanted to see as an educational expert, connecting the playground to curriculum and learning, as well as all the health benefits that come from play. But we got a lot of demand. We got a lot of demand from holiday parks, farmyards. I think COVID was a big driver for us because people were going on holiday. People were staying in the UK. Playgrounds were needed to entertain kids. So farmyards suddenly, holiday parks, pub chains, hotels. We're all making a lot of investments in the playground. We've got a lot of demand. I couldn't ignore it. So we decided to set up a commercial division, and we've called it ESP Play Parks. It's been going 3.5, nearly 4 years, and it's going well. It's going really, really well. Yeah, we're getting a lot of new revenues from businesses we never thought we'd trade with.
Brilliant. So you've got ESP Play.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Quest Electrical, which is an industrial.
Yeah, I have. Totally different.
Yeah.
I don't even know why or how. No, I do know why. My original business partner and original chairman of ESP was an electrician by trade, and 30 years ago he formed Quest. That was his baby, that was his business. He's now retired, and 6 years ago, he retired 6 years ago, should I say. And he asked me if I would take over it, or if I wanted to take over it. Now, I had no background in electrics, I had no interest in electrics, but I like a challenge. I can take a product to a market. At the time, Quest wasn't in its best condition. It needed a lot of fresh investment, it needed a lot of fresh blood and different ways of doing things. So I decided to take it on.
That must have been challenging.
Yeah. Looking back now, it's been a great journey. At the time it felt awful, quite frankly.
What would you say you changed for it to progress? It
was stuck in its ways, it was stuck in a rut, it was outdated in its thinking, from basic things from its website, even to its office decor, the way people just went about the business. There was no real strategic formation or setting for staff to follow. And the first thing I did when I went into it, was interview the staff. Met them, spoke to them, who are you, what do you do, what do you like, what don't you like, what do you think the business could do, and you get their opinions, you form their opinions, and you can imagine what it's like.
A new person coming into the company. Yeah,
quite resistant, they're not really up for change. They've got all the ideas in the world of what's gone wrong, but they can't give you everything that you need to do to put it right. So that was difficult, and obviously we had to have some difficult conversations with certain staff, because we had to make change, and with change that's people as well as the way as practice. So for the first 3 to 4 years, really, it was trying to just change it completely upside down, change its thinking, change its office, change its website, the brand, the message, why people buy from us.
Why do people buy from Quest?
From Quest? Well, first of all, it's 30 years old, so it's a long established brand, mainly in the Northwest for most of its life. So they're a trusted brand, and today, the reason why people buy from Quest is because we deliver a quality product and a quality service. Service is everything. When you're working in big businesses,
what businesses do you work with?
Manufacturers, food manufacturers, distribution centres, clothing factories. So Boohoo would be one, Clip Logistics, JD Sports, food people like Lancashire Dairies,
So they're
lots
not
of
small
different.
fry,
No,
massive.
big companies, and you know, health and safety is a huge topic for them. Having people come in to work on their sites, it's got to be absolutely right. It's got to be courteous to the way they do things. We've got to be intimate in terms of our understanding of how they police health and safety and how they want us to work, from the way we sign in to the way we sign out and the way we act on site. So a lot of time and effort goes into that. We're saying only quality electricians, our electricians are our biggest asset. So the fact that we've got a really good car on the books that go in and carry out the works for us is probably the biggest USP, because they're the face of the company really. I can go into a company every day and try and sell why buy Quest.
Yeah.
Proof's in the pudding, and if I don't deliver what I said when I went to see people, it's worthless. And our electricians are outstanding. They go in and do really good jobs. They're all investing in the company, in its future, in their future, and we put a lot of time and effort into their professional development and career progression.
You do, and that is one thing that I've always noticed with yourselves. Whenever I come into your business, well, both businesses, how much of a positive culture it actually is.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, it is. They've always made me feel welcome. I walk in, if it's from the production to the sales or the warehouse, everyone is just so friendly, so welcoming. I just feel part of the team when I come, which is really, really good. There's such a big organisation like that.
Yeah.
It's massive. And how have you created that in-house as well as the people on the
sites?
On the sites,
yeah.
Sorry.
Culture's probably one of the hardest things to change.
Yeah.
Because it can't be done overnight. You can't just go in and
It's people's
suddenly.
moods.
It's people's mindsets, it's moods, it's how they interpret your company, the way they see themselves in the business, whether it's worth the while. You know, are they going to get something from investing all their time and effort into your brand? And you've got to make people believe that, you know,
There's growth.
that their career is in good hands. You've got to make them accountable though, because they're not just going to get everything on a plate. So you've got to make sure they're accountable and that they deliver against outcomes, because everyone who's employed by, whether it's ESP or whether it's Quest, they're paid to deliver outcomes in whatever setting that is.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're answering the phone, you've got to create a positive impression, or whether you're out on sites being customer facing, it's all outcome led. So we measure everything. We measure everything because we want people to be rewarded for what they do. So if they can come to an appraisal or a performance review and say, look what I've done for you, and there's the measures, and look, it's gone from this to that, and this is the improvement I've made. Not only do they improve as a commercial individual and their understanding of the business and where we're trying to go, but we can reward them according to what they've contributed as well. And I think that's the biggest buy-in we've had across both companies. You know, they're all very much accountable, but they thrive on it. They're not fearful of it. We encourage them to go and have a go, not be fearful of mistakes. You know, if we had a business full of people that had never made a mistake or never failed, we won't be a very good business, because you learn from your mistakes. Everyone says the same thing, but it's so true. So the culture side, you know, we've got amazing staff. You know, we've got people throughout the business in all layers that go out of their way to wish people happy birthdays, celebrate occasions, do charitable work. They have food days, Fat Fridays, whatever, and it's driven by the staff. It really is driven by the staff. But I suppose in the first instance, it started because they know that when they turn up for what they're doing for a reason, they know there's something in it for them, they know they can progress, and ultimately earn good money, because that's what people go to work for, isn't it? So I'd say, you know, that culture started. We've probably seen the benefit of culture change in the last 2 years at Quest, and I've been involved 6 years now.
Yeah.
And at ESP, to be fair, it's always been a really positive atmosphere.
Do you not think that's in regards to what you actually do invest in them, in regards to the personal development course, which I did want to touch on today, because it is, to me, it's outstanding what you actually do for the full in-house team.
The Professional Development Academy?
Yeah. So it's like, I'm big on personal development, and I think back when I was employed, if someone implemented that for me and my team, it would have it'd be a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
Do you want to just elaborate on what it exactly is that you do?
Well, I think it's very easy for business owners, managing directors, or senior managers in a company just to employ someone and expect them to come in and do a great job straight away. And we're just being totally unrealistic if we think that's going to happen. And at ESP, we've engaged with many training providers, external training providers, to come in and do course content that we believe are relative to existing roles, but future roles that we're already planning. Because we always want to make sure that existing staff get first dibs at the big jobs. We'd like to have this culture where we promote from within, if it's possible.
That's really, really good though.
We try.
That's what people then seeing a stepping stone within the company in regards to progression.
Yeah.
And it's not, some people, they go into a job and they think there's nowhere for them to move because they've already got managers in place or anything like that.
Yeah.
Whereas coming into a company that is going to give the staff within house first-handedly the opportunity, then it's worth staying.
Well, whenever you interview someone, why are you leaving? There's no progression. Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving the company?
Well, I've left companies because of that.
Yeah.
Because like when I first started off in sales, well, it was just a sales job. There were already a sales manager, and then there were nothing after that.
Yeah.
So to me, I'd been there for 10 years. I was the highest performer in regards to sales. There was just nothing for me to do.
Well, there's no guarantees, is there? Everyone can't have the best job, so you do have people move on. But I'd like to think that anyone who comes to work with that in either of the companies that are coming in on a professional development journey that will enable them to either be promoted with us because we want to put them in a different position where they can influence other people's development and ultimately strategic plans for the company, or they've got something on the CV that enables them to go and get another good job elsewhere. So it's time well spent if you were to come in.
Yourselves.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we take all staff out of their normal daily comfort zones because it's very easy to turn up and go through the routine of going to work, doing your job, going home.
Just waiting for the next appraisal or something like that.
Yeah, and I think people get stuck in a rut and bored if they're allowed to do that.
They do.
So we always encourage all staff to go and do things that they wouldn't expect to do. People are fearful of doing presentations, so we'll get them to do it internally. People are fearful of being customer facing, so we'll take them out and let them see how it goes. But the training side of things is generic. It's generic business skills. So the Professional Development Academy was formed because I couldn't find a training provider that did what I wanted it to do. So, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to write it myself. I'm going to write the course content. I'm going to deliver the training myself. So all our seniors, managers, all our middle managers, anyone who's wanting to effectively invest in their professional development can attend these courses.
I know, well, I've asked for me and my team to attend.
I know you have, yeah.
We're jumping on that.
Yeah, I know. But we could, it's not abnormal for us to have an apprentice who's just come out of college, sat with a senior leader, doing a leadership and management course. And I think that's good collaboration.
Yeah.
I think it's really good collaboration because they get to see a senior leader in action, how they respond, and the senior manager gets to see how an apprentice is engaged in their development. And I think it's good. So I've written a lot of modules around this. At the minute it's leadership and performance management and strategy setting. I think we're into module 4 of 6 and it's gone down well.
It's brilliant. Well, I've seen it. Well, I've seen the first one.
Staff from ESP and staff from Quest all of it again collaborate. So it's 2 different businesses, 2 different markets, different challenges, sharing best practice and how they overcome different things all coming together. So that's the benefit of having a couple of businesses within your group. Because they can learn from each other and have completely different perspectives, which you don't get from an external provider.
No.
So I'm glad I did that. It took a long time.
It's amazing.
It took a really
I
long
love
time.
that. When you first told me about that, it was the biggest thing. I was just like, I was just so intrigued. Well, I said to you now, why do you not go into other businesses and do this? Because
too much on with my own.
Trying to find your own work.
No.
Because I think if a lot more companies did this with their team, it's not only showing that you have got your teams back, because they build your business if you think about it.
Of course they do. It's all about your staff.
Yeah, and it's like because of how much you give back to them, they'll want to stay with you. Like why wouldn't you?
Well, I'm obviously going to sit here and say
yeah,
of course you want to say it, but look, people's priorities change. People move house. People have situations where for whatever reason they can't stay with a business, which is sad to see sometimes. But ultimately, I'd like to think that if anyone comes into our company and leaves for whatever reason in the future, that they're going well equipped to carry on their journey, carry on their career. And I keep in touch with ex-staff. We don't fall out with staff if they leave. I keep in touch with a lot of them, and I'm always interested in their career and where it's going. One guy who used to work for me went from our industry to the medical industry, and he's thriving. But he's applying a lot of skills that he learned with us there. Different product, different market. But he's gone in with confidence because of how well he did with us. Which
it is
I love to
brilliant.
see.
The development training that you give, hence the reason why I've asked for myself and my team to be a part of it in January.
Well, we'll see what you think after module 1.
Well, then I'm not coming back.
We'll see.
No, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So we touched a little bit on both businesses now, so I'd like to know a bit about you. Tell us about Andrew Wood.
What do you want to know?
Everything.
My God, how long have you got? Andrew Wood. I'm 39 years old, so I've not made 40 yet, which is good. I love sport. I've got 3 kids, which keeps me alive, keeps me going, keeps me motivated. I don't really know what to tell you, really. It's a bit of a boring story. I go to work, I go home.
So I've got a few questions. So how did you go from going into these 2 businesses, basically reforming the businesses?
I didn't reform ESP. ESP was started from scratch with a team of people, so I can't take credit for going in and reforming ESP. ESP, I was part of the formation of it, so that's fine. But Quest, yeah, I did do that.
So what made you go into business?
I don't know, to be honest. That's a good question.
Did you go to college, university?
I did, yeah. So I went to school. I was one of the kids that got through school, got my GCSEs and everything that you'd want to get. But I was always one of those that would have fun with the teachers, let's put it that way.
Oh.
So I got my GCSEs, which I was really relieved about on day one when I turned up and opened my envelope and I got them. I was really relieved because I can't say I particularly worked hard for them. I went to college to do A-levels. I did economics, I did business, and I did IT. Again, I didn't take it particularly seriously. I turned up. I think I spent most of my time in the common room playing table football with my mates and going to classes. But again, I managed to get through my A-levels. Decided then to go to university. And to be honest, I went to university not because I wanted to. I went to university because my parents said,
really?
That's what you should do. I think our generation, certainly in my family.
A lot of people feel like they follow past because of the parents.
Traditional routes, go get your GCSEs, go do your A-levels, you must then go to university and get a degree, and I just didn't agree with that. I don't agree with that today. I mean, the cost of going to university, you're coming out with so much debt.
Yeah.
It's hard before you've even got going. Anyway, I went, again, wasn't engaged, and then I had the freedom of basically being at university. I was in Leeds City Centre.
Wow.
They didn't care whether you went to your lectures and you didn't. I found myself just basically going for drinks and playing football and having fun, and I did 1 year and dropped out, and I didn't want to be there. I knew it just weren't for me. So as it happens, I actually went and got a job in a playground company, which was over in Leeds, near Leeds area, and it was called Magical Markings, and it was a playground marking company. And I got this interview, and I remember turning up, and I met a guy who was our original owner. He was the sales director of this business and a shareholder, and he's called Sean Holly, and he interviewed me, and straight away I was just like, I've got to work for this guy. He was just brilliant. He interviewed me, he sold me this dream. I told him, I was honest with him, I said, look, I'm at university, I just really want a summer job, I'm probably going to go back because my parents say it's the right thing to do. And he said to me, I'll never forget, he said, look, university's not the place to learn business. Doing business in the business is the best business school that you can go to. And that stuck with me. Anyway, I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a go. And I got the job, fortunately. I went straight into the sales team, and it was a telephone sales job. And quite frankly, I was bored to tears.
Was you? I loved it.
God, no, I was bored to tears. But what I did like is the challenge of overcoming someone saying no to me and getting them to say yes, which I love.
Did you thrive off I used to thrive off hitting my target, or getting a sale.
Oh, no doubt. Every time you get a sale, I was ringing the bell and so on, like, hey. So I was doing telephone sales, I was good at it. And then, before you know it, I was out seeing people face to face. I was good at that. You know, I was 19 years old, 20 years old, and I'm representing this company on contracts that, there was a government contract that this company had at the time with Youth Sport Trust. It was called Zone Park. It was a Nike sponsored playground project, and they basically put zoned areas into playgrounds, sport active and quiet areas, and they painted these playgrounds, and we got the contract to deliver it. So I was out basically facilitating that contract, but I was really good at it. And then I came back, and then unfortunately the guy who interviewed me, who I effectively said yes to, left the company. There's all sorts of going on. He left the company, and there was an opportunity to form ESP, and he asked me, would you come? Do you want to come? And I said, absolutely, yes, 100%. You're the person I came to, you're the person I said yes to, you're the person I want to work for. So we formed ESP. It was me, it was him, it was another lady, and a couple of other people, and we set it up over in Burnley. So at the time, I'm living in Leeds. The business is over in Burnley. At
The
best,
university's in
well, at
Leeds.
best, that's an hour and 10 minutes journey, drive. I was not earning great money. I was probably earning 12 grand a year.
Wow.
So I had the cost of the petrol, I had
Yeah.
the cost of a car. I was driving over. At minimum, it was an hour and 10 minutes. But you know, the M62 was awful.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the easiest thing in the world. All my parents, I only got two. My parents, that's not true actually. I haven't got two. I've got a mum and a dad, but unfortunately they're split, and I've got a stepmum and I've got a stepdad.
Right,
all of which wanted their opinion on what I should do. You know, you should do this, you should do that, you should this, you should that, which I completely ignored. They thought I was crazy, earning nothing, driving over there for nothing really. But as far as I was concerned, we had this opportunity to start a business, build a brand, and I remember Sean always saying to me, look, one day it's going to be yours. It can be yours if you want it. Stuck with me from day one. So I went in, I gave it my all, and as a small team at the time, you did everything. You know, you did everything from brewing up to making phone calls to adding up the invoices, and I loved it. So you got a lot of exposure. Even though the benefit of being a small team, you got a lot of exposure of everything.
You get a go of everything.
Well, you learn so much.
Yeah.
You know, and that concept of business is business school is so true. Anyway, my job was sales. I said, that's my job. So I went out, I did office sales, I did field sales, and we managed to land this contract. I'll never forget. We started it in June. I landed this contract by the Summerwood Medway Council. I can't remember the value of it. It was a big one. It was about 10 or 15 schools. Anyway, Sean gave me the worst news in the world, and he said to me, right, we're all going to go and deliver this ourselves. So not only are we selling, making brews and adding up invoices, we're going to go install it now. I am not a manual DIY, hate it. Anyway, I'm thinking, I'm dreading this. Absolutely, it was in Kent. So anyway, we got in the vans, off we go down to Kent, and we're installing playground markings galore. But I tell you what a trip. I spent 6 weeks down there. We stayed there literally Monday to Sunday, and we were installing playgrounds. It was really hard work, but we were going out, we were having fun, and we properly got together.
Yeah.
And we delivered this
I bet
contract.
that just proper bonded you all together.
I didn't know at the time. Quite frankly, I hated him. I absolutely hated him at the time. But we went, we did it, and when we came back, that sense of achievement, because all the startup costs for the business were done. We got this big contract. We're in these offices. Obviously, startup business, you're not cash rich. We got this contract. It was great, and we just went from there. And from that point on, it was just an upward trajectory. It went really, really, really well. Within no time, I was made sales office manager. Then I was the sales director. I think 3 years in, he honoured his promise, and he basically 3-4 years in, he gave me managing director. So there I am, managing director of ESP at 23, 24 years old, which I couldn't believe. You know, I think my proudest moment was about to have a business card with a name on the managing director. You know, little corner and stuff like that.
Them?
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, of course I do.
I thought everything was just
So there I am. I've got the car I wanted. He said, "What car do you want?" I want this one, and I think it was a BMW at the time, and I got that, and it just made me want to work, work every hour of the day. Weekends, you know, we used to do meetings on Saturday mornings because we didn't have time during the week.
Wow.
So I'd drive over on Saturday morning and do meetings, but I thought, well, if he's prepared to do it,
and I've got to be.
I'm going to be.
Yeah.
So I did. Again, I didn't enjoy it. Didn't like the idea of getting up on a Saturday morning and going and doing a meeting, but I did it. And to be honest, we just all clubbed together as a team, and we had a really, really close, galvanised team at the time. And it was going from strength to strength, and then we hit the jackpot. We were already performing well with schools. We were turning over fantastic money, employing lots of people, and then I got the opportunity, or created an opportunity where I could go and pitch to the NHS. And I had a meeting with a director of public health down in Essex, and I pitched the concept of using ESP as a preventative measure to obesity. Wow. So getting kids more active more often on a daily basis in the school playground. And
well,
they
you've got the gyms, haven't you?
Well, yeah, but this was totally different because we were talking about primary age kids. So trying to get kids at a young age into the habit of enjoying physical activity, being active. Because the concept that we sold was, if we can get kids interested at 5, 6, 7, 8 year old in physical activity, and they enjoy it and they see the benefit, then they're more likely to do it in adulthood.
100%.
So from an obesity point of view, and an obesity spectrum, if we've got a more active audience in children, it will ultimately, eventually,
stick.
Yeah, it will be a preventative measure of obesity because we'll have a more active nation. A lot more went into it to that, and we engaged with universities, people like Leeds Met and the University of Roehampton and Liverpool John Moores to support us with this, but we came up with a lot of theory around an intervention that would combat obesity and shape behaviours for the future around physical activity. Anyway, this guy backed it. Now, at the time, we had this concept called a multi-skills zone, which was about giving kids skills to be able to do PE better, fundamental movement skills like catching and kicking and throwing, changing direction, balancing, that type of thing. We had a teacher training programme that was accredited that supported teachers to teach that in schools, and it was going massive. At the time, there was a Labour government, and they had this PE school sport and young people plan strategy, and there were positions called partnership development managers that had budgets for that, and I had great relationships. I think there were 450 PDMs, partnership development managers in the country. I think I had relationships with 420 of them.
Wow.
So, you know, we had a fantastic core of clients there that were buying from us every single day this concept. And this is what I went to pitch to the NHS. Much to my surprise, off I go pitching, and this would have cost a school $3,000 each. And there was 165 schools this guy was talking about. I'll let you do the maths, but he turned around to me at the end of it and said, Andrew, I don't want to do £3,000 a school, I want to do 25 grand a school. That equated to £3.5 million quid in one order. £3.5 million quid? £3.5 million
Ow.
in one order. I mean, I came back, my eyes were like,
I've got the golden ticket.
oh my God, honestly, I came back and I said, you're never going to believe what's happening. Anyway, we got this contract and it was amazing. So we're setting up facilities in Essex, manufacturing facilities in Essex, distribution centres, we had teams down there. This was going on for 12 months. But one thing we committed to was that we'd do a research programme to prove impact. Yeah. So we did a lot of pre-assessment data to say, this is how it is now. And then we did a load of assessment afterwards of all the experts. This wasn't us, this was people with more degrees than a thermometer, you know, PhDs and professors and all sorts. Long story short, the research outcomes were unbelievable. They were published in the British Medical Journal, and it demonstrated shifts in physical activity that they've never seen before globally. So here we are, little old ESP from Lancashire, doing a project with the NHS that's being measured independently by universities and all the experts that are coming back to us after 12 months and saying the impact has been incredible. Boy, girl, talented, non-talented, the shift in participation was huge in daily physical activity.
That must have made you feel proud.
Oh my God, we were sat there thinking, wow, we really have got something. It was getting the press attention, we were getting newspapers ringing us up. We got the opportunity to disseminate the research outcomes around the world, so we went to America, we were in South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, talking about ESP as a pioneer around getting kids physically active in school playgrounds. And it was like, it was a pinch you moment.
Yeah.
It was like, this is too good to be true. And I've got people like Professor John McKenna from Leeds Metropolitan University standing up and saying, this is the real deal. You know, this is not only is it cost effective, because it worked out at something like 65 pence per child as an investment. You get all these benefits for health, mental health and everything else that comes with it. And you sat there and thinking, wow, we've created something really special here. Then, the Labour government came out of power. It was the time of the financial crisis, the global economy went crazy. And just when it was going, wow, it all went crashed. These PDMs who I had this relationship with was obviously part of the Labour government, were made redundant overnight. You know, school sport partnerships, partnership development managers, we were absolutely gutted, not only for them because we love them as people and we had great relationships, but the fact that basically our marketplace has changed completely, our buyers have gone.
How did that affect you guys?
Massively. We had to stop. We had to stop and seriously rethink about our strategy because, well, if you think about it, from a marketing point of view, we've got 450 buyers that were effectively buying from us every single week, every day. And it was making up all our turnover. Well, majority of our turnover, because they were our connection to schools. They suddenly get made redundant overnight, and the money under the Conservative government was then channeled to schools instead of these intermediaries, these partnerships. So instead of having a pool of 450 people, suddenly you've got 26,000 schools that hold the money. So your marketing strategy's completely changed. Where I would go to 2 events a year and meet these people, talk to these people and say, how are you,
because you've already got them returning.
Already got them returned, the brand's already known, you've got a lot of equity with these people. Suddenly, there's 26,000 primary head teachers that have got control of this budget. that you've never met before. Oh, there's not a lot of them that you've met before. You've got to talk to 26,000 people instead of 450.
Wow.
So marketing budgets go up, government spending went down, confidence in the marketplace went down. It was awful at the time. And you didn't know whether you'd survive. Luckily for us, we did. We still had this NHS contracts that was being rolled out. We had good relationships with schools. We were performing well. And we got through that as ESP play really well. And under the Conservative government now, there's still plenty of funding being prioritised for PE, for sport, for kids being active. Schools, I think, as the market's evolved around the impact of play on schools and health and kids, now not just that, but learning, academic achievement. You know, kids who have been physically active are better equipped to learn in the classroom. They're more able to absorb information, and a lot more teachers are buying into that and seeing the benefits. So when you go into a school now, you've got playgrounds for 3 to 5 year olds where 50% of their time needs to be outside, playing, you know, socialising, communicating, being active, building muscles up that connect to handwriting in the classroom. It's changed as a market. Yeah. So we had a little dip, we had a little worry, and then suddenly I think the knowledge, the education, the awareness grew. And although that the marketing reach was far greater than it was, here we are now, probably better placed because we've got many more relationships with schools and now multi-academy trusts that exist. And the brand for play has just gone from strength to strength. You know, it's gone really well. So I think your original question was, why did I get into business?
Yeah.
I didn't answer that question, did I? But
it's all right.
Still, I think the reason why I got into business, the truth behind it is, my dad was in business and he was a managing director of a chemical company. I've got a brother who's in business, he's a commercial director at Seabrooks. I've been around it.
Yeah.
I can remember as a kid I used to put suits on and pretend I was going to work.
Yeah.
You know,
Love that.
Really. So I think I was always destined to go into business. In what way I never knew.
You evolve into, you are your environment, aren't you? Well, I genuinely do believe that, and whatever you grow up around is effectively how you become.
That's not necessarily a good thing
Not?
a lot of times. But I think you can. No, I agree with you. But you know, I came from a split family. I lived with my dad. I didn't see him going to work every day. But I just think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the idea of business. I enjoyed the idea of putting a suit on at the time, going to work, impressing people, changing people's minds. And that buzz you get from a sale.
Yeah, I love sales. I used to sit there in this when I was working for the magazine company. I sat behind my desk, and honestly, when I started first getting sales, I just didn't want to leave my phone. I was just like bang, bang,
next
bang.
Next one.
I loved it, and I just thrived off it. I didn't. It sounds really horrible, this, but I didn't even want to speak to anyone. Cause I just want to get phones.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm right. I didn't go to work to sit and chat. Don't get me wrong. You have a bit of fun in the office and what have you, but it's work, isn't it? I was there for a reason. I'm not going to drive from Leeds to Birmingham to sit and mess around all day.
No.
I wanted to get something out of it. You know.
Yeah.
But I think I played a lot of sport, competitive, quite determined.
So what would you say to Andrew, who 20 years younger?
Oh. Andrew, crikey, just left school type?
Yeah.
Going into do uni or don't do uni?
Yeah, what would be your advice?
Well, that's funny because I had my first son when I was 22. So technically speaking, I'm in that phase now, talking to my child.
Yeah.
Who's just about to turn 17. Now I said to my son, you've got to get your GCSEs. I've been strict with him around that. Just because I want him to be disciplined in that, go to school, get an outcome. So you've got a choice. Not because I want you to be this or be that, You've got a choice. I said to him, the minimum expectation is to go to do A-levels. Go to do A-levels and do courses that were transferable. So he's doing economics and business because it's transferable to anything in business. It will be knowledge that he's gaining that he can apply to anything. It's just good general knowledge around business and economy and how we arrive at decisions and how things work. So he's gone to do that, and he's doing PE just so he can do something he enjoys because he likes sport. And then after that, it's up to him. I'm not going to force my child down the route. My stepdad, who I didn't particularly get along with, go get a trade, go be a plumber, go be an electrician, go be this, go be that. And whilst there are very good professions and people and good money through that, it wasn't me. I don't want to do that. That's not for me. My mum basically sat on the fence and went with everything anyone said apart from what I wanted. My dad...
Do you think it was that era? Because I think a lot of people, when I speak to a lot of people, they always say like they weren't on the path that was meant for them.
My family is very risk averse. they'd rather go down the safe route all the time.
Yes.
Save for a rainy day, go do this because it's safe. You'll get a good pension, you get this, and that's just not me. I am the total opposite.
Risk.
And I'm not risk, I'd like to say calculated risk, but when I'm 20 years old, I've got nothing to lose. I have no kids. I did get a mortgage. I moved out of my mum's home because I didn't like my stepdad, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. Thankfully, I inherited a bit of money through, unfortunately, the death of my uncle, but I used that money to buy a house. So I had to go to work because I had to pay my bills. You know, I didn't have a choice. Suddenly I'm living in my own house, my own front door, I've got a mortgage coming out. So that drove me, but I'm not risky, but I'm prepared to take a risk. Because if you don't take a risk, you're never going to gain. And sometimes I think you have to. So I've come from a family that's very risk averse, very safe, save for a rainy day type attitude, where I'm totally different. I'm having a mortgage at 19. I'm going to go work for this guy that I've known 2 minutes in Burnley. I believe everything he says. I'm going to make him give me everything he's promising. I'm going to go work hard and deliver the outcomes that he says, if you do it, you can have. So I put him in a position where he couldn't say no, really. Because I did everything and more that the business required. But it's paid off. So what would I say to, what do I say to my son, what do I say to myself? Be clever in that you go get the qualifications you need to be able to give you a choice. Be able to make a choice. Whether that is to go to uni because you want to go to uni, whether that is because you want to go into work and go into business, you'll have a decent foundation, a decent understanding, but also you'll be able to convince an employer that you can stick at something and get an outcome, whether that's education, whether that's work, whatever. So I won't force either my son or my daughters to do anything they don't want to do, or to try and persuade them to do one thing. I'll try and advise, I'll give them an opinion, but ultimately it's down to them. They've got to enjoy what they do.
That's really good.
When you're getting up every day to do something for a long time, they have to enjoy it.
You know, it's funny that you should say that. It's like, obviously, I've gone fully into PR now, and I genuinely feel like that is a path for me now. Whereas before, I was doing sales and the publications. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. I love sales. I love speaking to the customers and stuff like that. But I wasn't getting the full benefit out of it. I feel like I've found my niche, and it's only been this year where I'm working full PR services. It took me 13 years to get to that. Like when I was on the sales side in regards to selling publications, I was dipping my toe in the PR then, and then I've been there for 10 years, as we were talking about before. There was no growth for me to grow anywhere within there, and I was doing the best of my ability. And then I obviously had the publication company. However, it was just, I wanted to be more hands-on.
So you took a risk?
Yeah, and well, did I? This year. Yeah, but this year, it was the scariest thing that I've done.
Any regrets?
No, I absolutely love it. It's like, there were many mornings I was sat there from 3 o'clock in the morning, crying my eyes out. Lily had come downstairs and I was just like, I've just got to make this work for us. And it was like, but now, I just can't believe this is my life.
Well, but you enjoy it, don't you?
I love it.
You enjoy your
I
business, and I think when you're
love
doing it every day, you've got to enjoy it. But I think as well, if you're going to convince a client to buy your services, whatever you say, whether it's PR, whether it's playgrounds or electricals, they've got to be convinced that you care. 100%. They've got to be convinced you care about them, that you're passionate about what you do. Why would they buy into you? So they don't buy into you. How can they buy into your product?
It's like I was saying to the team, when every day doesn't feel like work. I can't believe that I'm going doing this for a living, helping others just build their brand. It's mental.
Well, when we engaged with you, I remember I saw 4 or 5 different PR companies. I think you were the 5th. And it was just so mundane, it was so boring.
Me?
No, not you. The companies I spoke to.
I
was getting to speak to these companies and they didn't understand what I wanted. Again, I was going to external agencies. I believe in buying specialists in for specialist areas. So I have a marketing agency for a lot of the marketing work we do. I wanted a PR agency to come in and do that work for me. I was at the 4th company thinking, I can't find anyone. I just can't. And I met you, and the first thing that came across before you talked about any product or any service was the enthusiasm. You wanted to do it. You wanted to help. You wanted to be involved. You wanted to know about my company before you told me about yours. That's why we went with it, because you wanted to know about us before you sold you.
What made you think of PR being a driving force for your brand?
It's important. Your reputation's important. So reputation management, for me, has to be done through fresh eyes. I'm too close to my company and my brands and our services to be able to sit there and say, we need to do this, that and the other from a PR perspective. I think people externally with fresh eyes that can look at the way you do things, look at the way you treat your staff, look at the way you do things like charitable work, social community work, the way you sell your product, they can give you a story, they can give you a message, they can give you a profile. And I think
that's
third party advocacy for me is very powerful. So whether it's a customer speaking to a customer, look, don't believe my word for it, go and speak to so and so and they'll tell you. Whether it's customer testimony and advocacy, or whether it's a PR agency then sat there saying, look at what this company's doing, speaking to journalists and saying, you need to be talking about this in publications. You need to be talking about this.
Well, it's like in summer when you told me how many school playgrounds you were completing just in August alone. No, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, we need to take this to the papers.
And you did.
I did.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like, I love hearing success stories from my clients and being part of that.
Yeah.
It's like going into businesses, hearing about how someone's built up something so special, hence the reason I've started the podcast, because after listening to all my, because that's one thing from the start I want to hear about, how they've got what they've exactly created, learn all about the industry, culture.
Yeah.
And then I want to know absolutely everything. I know I do your heading, but I'm emailing all the time saying, what have you got on for this next quarter? Because if you don't tell me, I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
And it's because I want to know if there is a story that we should be going to the press for. Because 9 times out of 10, you probably don't think it's that big, but that's because it's your baby.
Well, exactly, and I'm too busy and consumed in the day-to-day. PR's a full-time job. You can't just play at it. You can't just have a go and then stop and have a go and then stop. It's got to be a consistent thing.
It's a journey.
So I couldn't do that. We didn't have PR people or people interested in doing PR within the business, but as well, even if I had someone within the business, they're too close. It's got to be fresh eyes for me. So that's why we use third-party services to do it. And you're right, the smallest story can have the biggest impact.
Of course it can.
It really can, and we're doing so much now, aren't we? Through socials and.
But that's paid off. It's paying off for you. But you've been at this now 11, 12 months consistently.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We're always interested in return on investment, and we always look at, are we getting the investment from the return from the investment? But the brand awareness that we feel now through the commitment to PR that we've done through social specifically is massive. I walk into rooms that I don't know and they come up and say, oh, you're Andrew Wood from there. I've seen you on LinkedIn. But the fact they know about the business, they know about the service, they know about the product, and we've had inquiries come through and, would we have got them without it? Who knows, you don't know, do you? But one thing I do know is people are a lot more aware of our brands now than they were before, and in a positive way. But as well as that, using PR as a vehicle to celebrate staff achievements, i.e. an external business coming in and saying, look what this lady's done, look what this person's done, spotlight of the month, big celebrations to this person and recognition, an ability to be able to recognise your staff without it being me all the time, and a third party coming and saying, we just want you to know, this has been wonderful. It goes a long way for culture as well as it does for external 100%. Factors in terms of customers. There's a much wider
We've heard the world's moved as well, especially on digital. It helps in regards to recruiting or anything like that. You recruit better talent.
Well,
if you show your company culture and what you guys are about,
people think I'm hard to work there. Of course, no doubt about it. And we've had success through that, recruiting talent through that, and it's everything. It's so holistic in terms of the benefits it brings. Of course, it's measurable, but it is immeasurable to a point because of all the benefits it brings if done correctly.
Yeah.
If done correctly, but yeah, I mean, it's worked for me. But like anything, if you play at it, it won't do much. You've got to commit. You've got to be clear in your plan. And when you came in, though, there was a set plan. This is what I want to achieve. Go and execute it. And so far, you've done all right, haven't you?
Hey, I'm getting there. Well, I've been here for 12 months now working with you.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. Has it been 12 months really?
Yes. It's coming up to 12 months.
Yeah.
So obviously, you run 2 companies.
Yeah.
That must obviously be stressful and time-consuming. How do you cope with that, and basically what do you do outside of work?
What do I do outside of work? What, to switch off?
Yeah.
Good question. I think if you were to speak to my family, they'd say I never switch off. But it is stressful. I don't really believe in the word stress, if I'm honest.
You were always dead happy, and I say, how are you so happy all the time?
I think you've got to be. You've got to be. One, I enjoy it. I enjoy business. I want to make sure all my staff know I enjoy business, and my customers know that. Don't get me wrong, it's hard. Yeah, you do have moments of reflection, but I think skills connected to things like emotional intelligence, being self-aware, being able to reflect accurately in terms of the way you are performing as an individual. I think the biggest challenge for me, being the managing director of a couple of companies, is I don't have a line manager to tell me whether I'm doing a good job or not.
Yeah.
I have got somebody to go to and have an appraisal. So no one's going to either pull me up and say, you could do this a bit better, you could do that a bit better, or guide you. So that's probably the biggest challenge for me. And when you go home at night, you're thinking, and you're wondering whether you've done it right, whether you've done it wrong. Whether
Do you get that often?
I do, yeah, of course you do, because I'm human. I'm a human being. You don't always get it right. I've made more mistakes than you can ever imagine. Made loads of mistakes, but I don't think I'd be the MD I am today without doing that. Just like I say to staff now. So we don't pull people over the coals for making a mistake, but we do ask them to evaluate what happened so they can apply what they've learned.
Yeah, 100%.
And if they're able to do that, they become an even bigger asset to the company, because that's experience. But yeah, being self-aware and being emotionally intelligent, and emotionally intelligent in terms of others, what other people have got going on in their lives, how to deal with situations when a situation is presented to you in a way that is caring but detached, because at the end of the day you're the boss. But you're offering that empathy and sympathy to a situation and support mechanism. That's where my secretary, Anne Nolan, comes in, because she heads HR for the two companies as well, and she's brilliant, she's very experienced, and she's set up this well-being program across the businesses, which is designed to support people through their mental health, physical health and financial health. So it's giving people advice around how to do certain things, or putting them in connected to people that can help them in any one of those pillars of well-being. And she makes sure all staff are completely engaged with the company, supported, whether it's professionally or personally. And I work quite closely with Anne on this, because we think it's really important. We can't just expect people to be robots, coming in, be happy all the time.
Because everyone's got their life outside of work.
And that's one thing I've learned. You know, I come in and I always paint a positive face no matter what's going on in my life, because I don't want my staff to be worried. Why is Andrew worried? Yeah. So I never let them know. I will never let them in. But being able to be self-aware and self-reflect when you're in your moment to yourself, I think is a really important skill. And I don't think you can operate at a senior level in a business unless you're able to do that. So yes, I do switch off, I think. And I think part of my switching off is probably going to the pub with my mates and watching Man United with my son, spending time with my daughters, and just family full stop. Football's probably my get out. That's the time I can go and just relax and forget about
Switch
work.
off.
Yeah, definitely. And watching my kids play football, or watching them do sports full stop. That's definitely a place where I switch off. I do a lot of football coaching, so you can just focus on that as opposed to work. But yeah, I think those skills around self-awareness, reflection and emotional intelligence are absolutely critical. And being able to do that and learn from that is
I think I
important.
need to learn that a bit, but I
Would you say you're self-aware?
Yeah, I would. I am actually really, really positive. But there's moments where I have self-doubt, imposter syndrome. I mean, I've come out of meetings, I've signed a new customer up, and I've cried and just been my own worst critic in my head, and just been like, just basically terrorising myself for thinking that I'm not good enough or anything like that. When I know
that's more of a confidence thing for you, though, isn't it? The way I talk about self-awareness is what you do and how that impacts others.
So one of the questions that I specifically wrote down is because it's connected specifically to ESP play.
Right.
And your personal development. It is, obviously, everyone knows mental health is massive across the world. Mm-hmm. Do you ever suffer with your mental health?
Do I ever suffer with mental health?
Mm-hmm.
Do I ever suffer with
or
mental health?
Or has it ever affected you? Truthfully?
I'd say yes. This is a difficult question to answer, because mental health it's a serious topic, and I don't want to say something that's not well educated or understood. I'd like to think I do understand mental health, because we face challenges around it with people in my life, never mind staff, all the time. Have I ever suffered with mental health? I don't know, if I'm honest. I've had situations in my life where I have taken stock, wondered what if and should I or shouldn't I. But I'd probably sit here and say I've been fortunate enough to say that it's never really been an issue for me. I think I'm quite strong. I've got a strong mentality, but I'm not saying that people with mental health haven't, if that makes sense. I think I have got quite a strong mindset. This comes down to my mum. My mum always used to be, she was quite get on with it attitude. You know, I never got a sick day at school.
Yeah.
If I said I was sick, she
I
sent
have
me
got
anyway.
work, so you need to go.
She sent me anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother once, my eldest brother, he really didn't want to go to school this one morning, and he was eating Weetabix at the kitchen table, and he was telling me, I'm not going to school today. I'm not eating this breakfast. I feel sick. Anyway, he poured his orange juice into his Weetabix. Right. My mum made him eat it.
Oh, stop it.
My mum made him eat it and said, you're going to school.
Oh.
So I was brought up around this, you're getting on with it. And whenever there's been a problem in my life, whatever it is, and not necessarily a problem or a big decision in my life, it's always been, just get on with it, just get on with it. Things will be all right, things will work themselves out.
Is that what you tell yourself?
I think so, yeah. I think it's just ingrained in me. And that's down to, well, I think it's a good skill to have. Just get on with it, deal with it. There's always a way. No matter what the problem is, there's always a solution. And I tell myself that on a regular basis, you know, and I think that's how I probably would cope. I think having been involved with other people's issues around mental health, and I've spoken to quite a lot of experts around it, one of the outcomes that they always put forward is coming up with coping mechanisms, how to cope with the problem. You can't just make the problem go away.
No.
So how do you cope with the problem? What can you do to try and make it better in the future? So I'd say that I've probably got these coping mechanisms ingrained with me that I didn't know I had, that were just part of my upbringing through parents or part of my family and the people I've been around and surrounded with in my environment. And I think I've got very strong coping mechanisms, so to the point where mental health never really gripped me or grabbed me as a problem. But we've all got it. Yeah. We've all got triggers in our heads, you know, whether you call it mental health, whether you call it down days, whether you call it more serious issues, you know. But realistically, I said this to a member of staff once, did you, when you were born, and when you can remember your first thought, did you think that every day was always going to be a good day? Is it realistic to say that every day of your life, for the rest of your life, is going to be a good day? And they go, no. I said, so why do we always stress or overthink or over-evaluate a bad day?
Yeah, no, I do that. I actually do that. Yeah, no, I do that.
Yeah.
It's if I don't have to do a morning ritual and stuff like that. If I don't do a morning ritual, I feel like a sink, and then I beat myself up and thinking I'm having the worst day ever, and I will literally drag it out all day.
Well, that's a routine.
Because I feel like I've got to be happy and on this positive vibe every single day. And it is impossible.
It's totally impossible. You can't do that.
Honestly, I really beat myself up about it.
It's impossible to do. You can't be happy and high on life every single day of your life. Now, that's different to mental health. You can't be positive and high on life every single day. If that's your expectation, then you're setting yourself up for a problem, really. So I think being realistic with it, having those coping mechanisms, whether someone needs to identify those for you and highlight what you could do, or whether you've got them within your network or your mindset. I
think it's because 9 times out of 10 I am high on life. I am happy.
Yeah.
And I do particular steps to make sure that I'm genuinely happy, my mindset's right.
Yeah.
So for me to have a down day, it does really actually hit me.
But you've identified ways of managing it, coping with it, overcoming it. That's the important thing. Not everybody's got an ability to do that. And they need people, expert advice, to be able to come in and help them with those skills, because it is a skill. So, you know, mental health, if there's one thing I will say, it's real.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is it real? You know, we can't sit here and pretend that it's not a topic of that's a major issue, because we hear about it a lot in the day, and people like, you know, you've got to look at people like Tyson Fury. I mean, crikey, you listen to his story. You believe
I've watched it on YouTube. I love it.
You believe every word he says. You know it's real, and the thought
he speaks the truth.
Yeah, he had suicidal thoughts, and I mean that's scary for somebody to have suicidal thoughts. Must mean that they're in a bad place mentally. That's real. No one can sit there and say that's not real. No. Because we've seen, I don't know what the stats are, I'm no expert, but the stats on male suicide are really high.
Oh, it's Crazy.
So no one can sit there and say it's not real, and it exists in the workplace. We're dealing with it all the time in the workplace, but we're putting things and wrapping staff around, putting things around staff to make sure that they've got opportunities to have the support if they want it. We encourage a very open communication, quite an agile and humane environment where you can go and talk, you can come and have a chat. Whether that's my office, I do get quite a lot of people in my office as it happens, like that. And some people say that's a bad thing, but I don't.
No.
So I will have a connection to staff, and I think I can help them.
So thank you for today. Thank you for coming on the podcast
My
as the
pleasure.
first guest.
No problem at all. It's been good.
Good. I'm looking forward to everyone hearing about your story.
Hopefully they'll like it.
They will love it.
Thank you.